let's develop our first model class, and let's assume also the following requirements. In a student management system, we have a number of students, and also for each student, we have a number of course records. So whenever you have whenever you hear the concept about a number of, or a collection of, or a list of, that means you must use the data structure array. So at the top level, we have a student management system. At the second level, we have a number of, or an array of students. And at the third level, or the bottom level, we have an array of course records. So let's now start from the bottom level. So we go bottom up. We go for course record, and then students, and then student management system. For this particular tutorial video, we do course record. Okay, go to the package eecs1022.sms, right click on that, and then we go for new and Java class. Let's type course record. Okay, and then we say OK. Okay, so now we have this class here. Let's get rid of this default comments over here so we can make better ones later. Okay, so that's our template for course record entities. Okay, let's say we got two attributes for the course records. So each course record has the following characteristics. They have a title, for example, EECS 1022 or EECS 1012. And also it has some numerical row marks, let's say out of 100, and let's make it simple. It's simply just integer. So we have string title, and for example, it can be EECS 1022, and also let's say EECS 2030. Okay, so these are two examples here. And also we also got integer numerical marks. Okay, so for example 89 or 97. Okay, so these are the two attributes for our course record class. And now let's talk about constructors. So what kind of constructor should we support? Let's try a different let's try maybe a number of different constructors to get an idea. So the constructor's main job is basically there are two main jobs for the constructor. Number one, it must create a new object of type course record. And number two, it should try to initialize a list of attributes. And the list can be empty actually. So I'm going to show you in this case, since we got two attributes, so we may choose to initialize either 0 or 1 or 2 attributes. You can choose either one. It doesn't matter which you choose as long as it fits your application. So let's try version 1. And both all the three versions can coexist together. So course record, and then okay, you can say, okay, let's say this version of constructor initializes no attributes. So that means all attribute will have their values left as default. So when I say default over here, I'm going to show you in the debugger. But in principle, if your attributes is of reference type, meaning that they are going to store addresses of objects, by default they will have null, null, which is a keyword in Java. For integer, there will be 0. For Boolean, it will be false. And for double, it will be 0.0, etc. Okay, so now for course record, we simply just do nothing. Okay, this is one version of the constructor. Let's do another version over here. Let's say course record, and then let's say we want to initialize the title only. Okay, so this might be closer to the reality, which means, so let's say when you first register for your course, EECS 1022, in the beginning of the semester, you don't actually know about your final row marks yet. So in the beginning of the semester, you only create a course record with the title only. And then later, towards the end of the semester, once you know about every component of your grading, you can set the marks to be whatever it is. So this second version there might be closer to what you really need, but we'll just have different versions there to show you. Okay, let's demonstrate this. Okay, you can say this version of constructor initializes only one attribute. Okay, let me just fix the typo here. Okay, and this might be closer to the reality, which means create a course record objects in the beginning of the semester and set the marks at the end of the semester. And when we say set the marks, that means via a mutator. Okay, let's for this second version over here for the course record, we can say this dot title is assigned to and title. And notice that we are using this for disambiguating between the attributes, which is here, by using this, versus without the this, it will be this title over here for the parameter. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the third version over here. The third version is kind of the extreme. The other extreme is opposed to this one here. So let's say we want to initialize all the course records, all the attributes of the course records. So you can say course record and then string title and also integer marks. Okay, so that's the second version. And this version here, we're going to say this dot title is assigned to title, and this dot marks is assigned to marks. And over here, so let me just be a little bit lazy here. Let me just copy this one here. So this version of a constructor initializes both attributes. But you can think of, for this particular application, this may be further from how the reality works, because usually when you first create your course record in the beginning of the semester, you don't necessarily know what your final marks are. So, but we just include that. Just it's also it's just a programming possibility for you. So we'll illustrate how each one can be used. Okay. So once we got these three over here, usually you can see, for example, for these two over here, in case where you have not initialized any attributes, how do you actually initialize the attributes later? You need to define mutator methods. Let's do that. Okay. So what we can do is over here, let's define the mutator methods. Let me just move to the top. Okay. So now we can say void, let's say set title, and then string. So hopefully by now you should really know how to define mutator methods, which is the standard way for you to change the attribute value for your objects. So title, you can say this dot title is assigned to title, and also void set marks, and then we can say integer marks. This dot marks is assigned to marks. It's a very standard way of changing your attribute values. So that's why they're called they're also called setter methods for your attributes. Okay. So now we have defined three versions of your course record constructors, and also we got the two mutators. So let's now test it right away. Okay. So now let's go for new Java class. Let's try to test maybe each model class individually. Okay. So now we can have, let's say, course record tester. Okay. So now, and then let's also delete the default generated comments over here, and then we say public static void main string and args. Okay, let's just try the different versions. Let me just try version 1 and version 2. Okay, you can also test the version 3 by yourself. Okay, let's say this. So now let's illustrate creating a course record. Okay, let's just use CR for short. Creating a course record objects using version 1 of the constructor. Okay, so now if I say course record, I'll say CR1. Okay, course record 1 is assigned to new course record, and just like that. Okay, this will work. Similarly, let me just also copy the comment over here. Version 2 of the constructor, and then let's just call that CR2. New course record, and then, well, I will only put the title, EECS 1022. Okay, like that. Only the course title. Okay. So now let's see how the two objects will be different. Okay, let's see. Okay. Also, what we can do is let's just go back to the course record here. We can also define the toString method over here. Okay. So what we can do is we say toString. It also is a very standard way of defining an accessor method for describing your objects in the string. Okay. So now what we can say is we can simply return course record has title plus this dot title and marks this dot marks. Okay, that's a very easy way of combining the attribute values together in an informative way, so you can test it. Okay, of course you can customize the message if you like. Let's go back there for the tester over here. Let's now simply do system.out dot or I can say sout. Okay, and then I can say first of all I will say cr1 dot toString, and then also I would say cr2 dot toString. Let's see, cr1 was created by version 1 of the constructor where both attributes are uninitialized, left with their default values. And CR2 was CR2 over here was created using the second version of the constructor, which means the initial value for the title will be set as EECS 1022. However, the second attribute's marks will be left as default 0. Okay, let's have a look at that, make sure this is really the case, and then we'll use the debugger to show you very quickly. Okay, what we'll do is we can right click on this tester over here, and then we can say run. Okay, let's see what happened in the console. Okay, so you should really try to get used to this test-driven development process. So whenever you got something that's testable in your model class, you should really test it right away. Okay, let's just wait for the Gradle to build successfully, and then we'll see that. Okay, so now you can see course record has title now and marks 0. So these two are the default values for the title, and also the marks for the objects. Okay. On the other hand, for the second line, you can see the title is EECS 1022, but the marks will still be 0. Okay. So now what should we do? What we should do is we should really try to set their values if we want to. Okay. So now what should we do? So now we can say use mutator methods to set attribute values properly. Okay. So now let's try both cases. Now we know that for CR1 we actually got the title being null and the marks being 0. So now what we can do is we can say cr1 dot set let's say set marks to be, let's say 78, and also we can set cr1 dot set title, let's say EECS 3311, for example, right? And now on the other hand, we can also try cr2 dot set marks over here, and then we can say cr2 already got EECS 1022. Let's say that one for the marks we got 91. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, so now we can simply just use another two print line statements, exactly the same two print line statement over here, and then see what's going to be the output from here. Okay, and then we can compare. Okay, so let me just put a separator over here so you will see more visual separation on the console. Okay, let's now click on run over here and let's see what happened. Okay, you can see that over here, this was CR1 using the first version of constructor, and after we set both the title and marks, so now we got 3311 and 78, And this was the second version number 2 of the constructor with default value for the marks being 0, but now it has been set to 91. Okay, hopefully you got an idea. Okay, I wouldn't draw any diagram here because it's quite simple. We'll leave the diagram, we'll save the diagrams for later model classes. Let me just show you one more thing. You don't necessarily only call the mutator methods only once. You can call the mutator methods for as many times as you like. So what we can do is something like this. Let's say for some reason, I'll just show one attribute to you. You can do the other attribute by yourself. Let's say now somehow for some reason the course record, both course record have been regraded so that the marks have been changed. So what we can do is let's say cr1.set marks, and cr1 used to be in the very beginning used to be 0 and then set to be 78. Let's say it's been regraded, so it has now become 83. So now we can say set marks to be 83. Okay, and then also for cr2.set marks, and then it used to be 91. Let's say it's being regraded so that it's now maybe 66. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, so now we're going to also put these two lines over here to see how the objects are going to look like. And then we can now launch the play, and then we'll see what happened. So now you can see that 83 and then 66. Okay, you can see that the attribute values, in some way, they're class level variables, which means their values may change for as often as necessary by using the mutator methods. Okay, hopefully you see the point. Okay, so now finally, I just want to show you very quickly how you can do use the debugger to actually see the changes on the objects. Okay, very quickly. So now I'm going to put a breakpoint over here, and then I'm going to use the debug button here. Okay, let me launch the debugger. Okay, you can see that over here we are now pausing at line number 6 of the tester. And then let's say step over here. Notice that in the variables panel, nothing has been created yet. Okay, so now we say step over here. After that, we do have cr1 over here with some address over here. Okay, and then if you expand the contents for cr1, you will see title is null and marks is 0. So they are both default values. And then, so now we are in cr2. Now, which version of the constructor is being called? If you want to see which version it is, you can say step into. Okay, let's say step into it. So now you will see that it is version 2 over here that only initialize the title over here. In this case, if you the title over here will just be, if let me see the input over here. You can see the title over here is EECS 1022. So that's the input. Okay, notice that this is a subtle difference I would like you to pay attention to. You can see the title over here without a this. So this means the input, the parameter. So we have the input value EECS 1022. We want to assign that into this.title. This.title is the attribute value for the object, which was initially just default value, which is null. Okay, and then what's the context object? The context object is exactly, let me just switch back to tester over here. That's exactly this particular object that we are trying to create, which is cr2. Okay, so cr2 is the context object. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, so after we can say step over here, and then so this is right before the assignment was done, and then now let's say step over. You can see now that this.title has been changed to EECS 1022. Okay, and now we can say step over. So now we're back to this the context of the tester. Okay. So that's why after this line, you will see cr1 and cr2. You can notice that the address of the two objects are different because they were created using two new keywords over here. Okay, so now just another thing to show you. And then if you keep stepping over until this point over here, so this is the point right before we try to set the marks for cr1. You can see for this particular method call for the mutator method set marks, cr1 is the context object, meaning that we want to change the attribute values for cr1, and the input value is 78. Okay, let me just only walk this through for this particular one for you. So now you can see that CR1 currently it has the value of for marks simply being default value 0, and we intend to change that to 78. But how do we do that? So now I want you to pay attention to one thing here for me. You can see that CR1 is the context object, but I want you to pay attention to this address over here. Let's memorize together. You can see the address for CR1 is course record at 490. Remember 490 for me, okay? So now, if you step into this particular method call, so now we are in the context of course record. And now, what's the context object? It's been substituted by CR1, which has the address course record at 490, which we memorized from the previous illustration. Okay, so that means we now really substituted this by the CR1, and then so now the input we have without the this is 78, and this .marks is basically CR1 .marks, which still has the default value 0. So now as soon as we say step over here, we have this .marks, which is CR1 .marks, has become 78. Okay, that's how we change the attribute values for the mutator methods. Okay, hopefully you can really follow this by quite easily without a diagram. Okay, you should really try to draw the diagram by yourself as well if you're still confused. Okay, so let's go. And then, so now after we have set CR1 to be CR1.setMarks 78, so now you can see CR1, the marks has been 78. But now the title is still null. So what we can do is we can now do step over, and then you can see it has been set to 3311 over here. Okay. Okay, that's how you can use the debugger to really trace how the objects and input values are working when you have a mutated method call. Okay, so now I want to do one more method before I conclude for this particular first model class. Very simple method. Remember, for the course record over here, we only got numerical marks. So let's say we want to have another accessor method, which means given some course record objects for which we only store the numerical marks integer, we want to somehow ask the following questions. What's the corresponding letter grade for this particular course record? Okay, so what we can do is we can simply just add a new accessor method. So each letter grade, which can be A plus A, B plus B, etc., which may contain more than one characters. So the best choice for the return type would be string. Okay, so let's say we say string get letter grade. Okay, and we don't have to take any parameters over here. We can leave it empty simply because we can already use the values for the numerical marks over here to determine what the letter grades is. Okay, let's do that very quickly. Let's follow the standard way of determining the letter grades. Very easy. So we can say if marks is larger than or equal to 90, and then so it's actually better for you to have only a single return statement to avoid confusion. Okay, so now we can say string LG for letter grade, and then we can say return LG at the end. So now LG is assigned to A plus. Okay, and then it's a single if statement with else if, and eventually an else. So you can say else if marks is larger than or equal to 80, and then we can say LG is assigned to A. Okay, like that. So now you might be wondering, is it really necessary to say the following? Do we have to say marks is also less than 90 and that? So it's between 80 and 89. So is it really necessary to put this one over here? The answer is no, it is not necessary. Why? Let's think logically. We know that when we are trying to check the condition one by one, we first check this. If marks is larger than or equal to 90, that means we're going to go for this branch of execution. Otherwise, if this evaluate to false, what does it really mean when this evaluate to false? When this evaluate to false, that means the negation of that is actually true, which means marks is less than 90 implicitly. So that means if we can reach this point over here, this one is automatically true, no matter what. So there's no need to repeat this anymore. Okay, I'll make a comments for you. So that's something hopefully you also learn from the selections lecture. Okay, implicitly reaching this second branching condition means the following. Another case that marks is larger than or equal to 90, that is marks less than 90, right? You can see the negation of larger than or equal to is simply less than. Okay, so we don't have to repeat it anymore. So there is no need to repeat this condition in the second branching condition. Okay, it's simply because the meaning for if, else if is that we evaluate each one of them from top to bottom one by one. We only get to the current one if the previous one have evaluated to false. Okay, let's complete the rest. Okay, let's do that very quickly. Okay, excuse me. Okay, so now we can say else if. So now if is larger than or equal to 75, so that will be b plus. If it's larger than or equal to 70, so that would be b. And let's say 65, so that would be c plus. If it's 60, that would be c. And then of course you can keep going to D, E, and F. Let's say otherwise, what does that implicitly mean? Implicitly, that means marks is less than 60, right? The negation of this last condition over here. So that means let's simply just put F, okay, just for simplicity, which means if you don't even get C, that means you fail. Okay, so now we have this particular method over here, say based on the marks for based on, of course, if you like, you can also say this dot marks if you like. But you only put this when you need to disambiguate. For example, over here, you have to put this to disambiguate from the parameter. But sometimes you don't have to. So you can, it's completely up to the situation. Okay. So once we define this accessor method over here, so what we can do is we can now test it very quickly. And the way to test it is, so remember the toString method here. We say CourseRecord has title and marks. And then we can just we can extend this description over here briefly, okay? And then we can say, what about this? Grade is this, and then we can say, we can just call that getLetterGrade method, like that, okay? So let's now just make this a little bit into several lines, okay? Return CourseRecord has title, this the title plus, and marks, and like that. Okay, so you can see that we're using the attribute value title, the attribute value for marks, and also the return value for getLetterGrade. If you like, you can also say this dot getLetterGrade. That's also fine because we are in the same class where this method is defined, so we can simply just use that method directly as a helper method. Okay, so now. Okay, let's just go back to our tester over here. We don't have to extend our test. We can now just execute the original tester over there, and then it's simply just going to output the updated result, because now the toString method, the same toString method has been updated, has been extended using this getLetterGrade helper method. Okay, let's go back there, and then let's just execute that and see what happened. Okay, so now you will see that over here, you can see initially, for the let's just only talk about the first version to get an idea. For the first version, since the default marks is 0, so the grade is F. And then once we set it to 78, so now it becomes B+. After we reset it to be 83, it's now become A. Okay, why don't we just add a space between the 0 and the opening parenthesis? Let's do that very quickly. So what we can do is put a space over here. Okay, come back here. That's what test-driven development is really about. Whenever you see there's something that needs to be fixed, fix it, and then retest. Okay, let's launch the tester again, and let's see what happened. So we should see a space. Okay, good. So that's what we have over here. Okay, so let's recap very quickly. So let me remove this breakpoint here. So what we have done in this video, we have developed a class called CourseRecord, and we got 2 attributes, title and marks. And we got 3 versions of the constructor, which will which will initialize the 2 attributes, either 0 attributes or 1 attributes or 2 attributes. So all the 3 can coexist. So it really depends on which one you want to use for your application. And also we have the 2 mutator methods to set the title and set the marks. And also we have an accessor method to actually get a letter grade based on the marks for the current objects for the course record, the context objects. And also we got an accessor method to string to give us some meaningful, informative string description for the course record objects. And also we have tested all of these using a simple course record tester over here. Okay, you should really try to review this contents over here before you move on to the next video for the second model class.